Hey, what's up? It's Comic95 the Savior. For this video, I'm going to give you guys some quick advice on, learning Japanese. So I'm not teaching you how to speak, obviously, based off of the title, but I want to encourage you guys. I'm not talking about, as I said in my microaggressions video, speaking in general. You do not need to learn any Japanese before you come to Japan. Do I recommend that you come here not knowing anything? Absolutely not. But if that's what's stopping you from coming here or choosing to go to school here or anything else, that's not a very good reason or excuse, so to speak. It's not true. I personally believe, thanks to watching YouTube and reading blogs, that most people here do not speak English, and that if you can't read and write in Japanese, and if you can't speak and understand, you will be lost and have to go back home. You will actually find that most of the foreigners here actually don't speak Japanese, and it's not just because they're lazy, although there's plenty of people that are. It's a mixture of that and the fact that, it's kind of encouraged for you to not use Japanese as a foreigner. Japanese people stereotypically believe that we don't know Japanese and that we cannot understand it. Thus, they normally would try to accommodate you. Now, I'm not talking about this in a negative way. I'm saying why this shouldn't hinder you from, living your dream and choosing to work or study here in Japan. You will learn Japanese as you go, and to be honest, almost 100%, I would say 90% of the stuff that you learn in school, well, let me be more realistic. I would say about half of what you learn, if not more, will never be used in the real world. You will learn a lot of useless information, a lot of useless terms that are either outdated or just unnatural and sound really gaijin-like. So don't worry about that. I took Japanese not only at a university level, but while physically living here in Japan, and to be honest, I walked out of there learning practically nothing. Most of the stuff that I have learned and that I actually use in the real world pretty much came from, both dating, Japanese people, as well as being friends with them and having language exchanges. Most of what you learn in school is very robotic and, unnatural, to say the least. So, don't focus too much on taking lessons before you come to Japan or cram and study, etc. It's good to study for yourself, but don't feel like you need to be fluent or near fluent or even be able to read basics like hiragana, katakana. Yes, it's great if you can, but you don't even need hiragana and katakana in order to get by every day. It's nice if you know it. I'm not telling you to not learn Japanese, but I am saying do not use this as an excuse or let this goal to, be fluent get in the way of coming to Japan. You're not going to get any younger. As I've talked about in other videos, I've seen lots of lies and fake forums, etc., where people giving, not true advice, untrue advice, saying that, you have to know Japanese in order to make friends, and you can't date, and only a couple of people know, and nobody's bilingual. Japanese people, won't say most Asians, but the way the Japanese people are, they don't brag about themselves. They're very humble. My boyfriend is trilingual, and he will never tell you that he's even bilingual. He always says his English is really bad and that it's not good. He is the second, I'd say third, best English speaker that I know of here in Japan that, is not affiliated with the military and has never actually lived in the United States. But despite the fact that he can, both read and write and speak and understand Chinese, Japanese, and English, he does not say that he can't. He'll always apologize for having bad English before he opens conversation. Well, that's the way that most people are here. Most people say that they can't speak English when they can. It's just a cultural difference. As long as you speak slowly and, and of course you can always play charades, use sign language, etc. Not literal sign language, but I mean point with your hands to explain what you want. People will be able to understand you. And of course, hello, there's Google Translate. And to be honest, as I said in my microaggression video, even if you can speak Japanese, you will find that in a lot of circumstances, people will insist on using English with you anyway, which can be frustrating. But again, this video is, for encouraging purposes to let you guys know that it is not a need. It's nice if you can, but I wouldn't let that get in the way, because even when it comes to renting places, finding a job, etc., Japanese is not needed. And for work, people actually don't want to hire those who are bilingual. They want people who cannot speak Japanese. It's cute and fun for your coworkers, but your job will specifically tell you to never speak Japanese to the kids, and it's possible to be passed over for employment just because you're fluent in Japanese. Go Go figure. The main reason why this lie gets thrown around is not just because Japanese people are humble and aren't, willing to brag about their language skills, but unlike Europeans, most Japanese people are not native, fluent English speakers. So what I mean by that is, if you actually live in Japan, if you're an American, you'll be surprised at how well Chinese and Vietnamese people and Europeans, so those that are from Germany and Italy, you'll be like, whoa, they sound like Americans, or at least they speak super good English, where you would think that, they must have, I don't know the word, migrated, immigrated, whatever, from, Italy or Germany to the USA, when they've never even been to America before, but, they just watch American TV and they studied English while they were in high school and elementary school, etc. Well, Japanese people don't speak English at that level. They speak at a much slower and lower level. Thus, a lot of people, including themselves, don't believe their English is any good. Japanese Pot 101, which you've probably heard of on YouTube and come across, as well as other channels, they will have you thinking that, unconsciously or consciously, that you have to be able to speak Japanese to, get a taxi, to go through customs at the airport, to go grocery shopping, etc. I personally was so freaked out about watching these videos. I literally sat there and watched religiously how to introduce myself. I watched a plane video, I watched the grocery store. I have never had to use any of these scenarios in real life, because when you go through customs at the airport, when you go to the grocery store, they will always speak to you in English, or they will speak to you in dumbed down Japanese. And when they don't do any of those things, they can clearly see your foreignness and thus, they will figure it out for you. Okay, should I do this for this person or not, etc. So don't worry about that. You don't have to speak anything. You can literally shake your head yes and no. Simple, words will get you very far. Most of the restaurants here even have English menus, and they'll even have bilingual staff. They'll have, a way to explain stuff in simple Japanese for you. Unless you're living somewhere in the cut, where there's no tourists, you're completely isolated, you're the only foreigner, there will be English readily available for you. And again, just pointing, shaking your head, yes, no, using Google Translate will get you very far. I don't recommend staying like this forever. Again, I'm just saying for when you first get settled in Japan. I'm probably one of the dumbest foreigners that were here, but I honestly didn't actually start learning Japanese until about a couple of years ago, despite I basically wasted my whole first year here. I learned practically nothing. I pretty much had the same stuff that I learned from Japanese Pot 101, and I pretty much forgot everything that I read and studied about before I came here within moments of arriving, and I relied heavily on English living in Tokyo. So I don't recommend that you do this, but it's possible. It is very possible to live here for an extremely long time and not learn, because of how easily you can rely on English. Most signs have English written either above, get it, above Japanese, or under, because they know that that's where their money is. Most foreigners here, whether they're from other Asian countries or Europe, can speak English at a native fluent level, or at least they understand English better than they do Japanese. So yeah, I don't recommend doing that, but again, I've even met lots of, guys here that were married to a Japanese person, got a divorce, and they, have children that are 10, 15 years old, and they admittingly, never really bothered to study Japanese because their wife did everything for them. They had no real need or purpose. They communicate with their children and wife in English, and everything outside is in English too. So of course, there's situations where there's no English available, so you do want to study and learn it, but don't let it get in the way and stop you from coming here and coming to Japan. So if you can afford to take Japanese, sure, go ahead and go for it, but I will also tell you, be very careful. Don't act like it's, or take it as being gospel or whatever. You will find that a lot of the stuff you learn is very unnatural. People will understand you, of course, but you'll learn a lot of unnatural phrases, and you won't really learn how to deal with everyday stuff that you actually need. So real questions that people will ask. Also keep in mind that Japanese people generally think that you can't speak Japanese. No matter how well you talk or understand, they will almost always go back to using English anyway. So it's pretty stupid for you to, put off coming here because you don't speak Japanese when you do speak English. And there's people here that don't even speak English that are getting by just fine. I talked about a French girl that I used to live with at Soccer House, and she spoke really good Japanese though, but she was able to get by just fine without using English. So it goes both ways. good example to see just how unnatural what you'll be learning in Japanese is, search on YouTube how to speak English and watch several different videos, and you will see how unnatural, robotic, and even rude a lot of the phrases that you're taught are. That's exactly what it's like, but in Japanese, so imagine that. And again, I took Japanese in Japan. There's also free lessons that you can get here at your city hall that a lot of people don't know about until they come to Japan. I personally didn't know about this. So don't let that get in your way. If you want to come to Japan, go for it. Save money. You're not going to get any younger. Don't waste any more time to fulfill that dream, to study here, to work here, etc. So that's that. I hope I encouraged you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. If you have any questions, please send me an email or leave a comment below, and I will try my best to answer. Thank you for watching.